Welcome to the Creative Commons RX podcast. Before diving into this episode, I want to ensure we're all on the same page. This is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient or pharmacist-patient relationship is formed. Using this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's risk. The content on this podcast is not intended to substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Clinical experts created the references, content, and clinical insight. NotebookLM, a Google AI tool, created the audio content, which I extensively reviewed before release. Finally, the host states that he takes all conflicts of interest seriously. Currently, there are no conflicts to disclose. For all of his disclosures and the companies he invests in or advises, he directs users to reach out independently, where he keeps an up-to-date and active list of all disclosures.
Okay, so today we're talking about a medication that, odds are, might be in your medicine cabinet right now. I'm talking about Bupropion. It's a super common antidepressant, but it's got a hidden danger that you really need to understand, especially when it comes to overdose. So let's dive in. So just how popular are we talking? Well, get this. Back in 2020, it was the 18th most prescribed medication in the entire United States. We're talking millions and millions of prescriptions. That means, statistically, you or someone you know has probably been handed a script for this stuff. Yeah, 18th. Just let that sink in for a second. That's out of all the medications out there. It's prescribed more than so many drugs we hear about all the time. It is absolutely a mainstay in modern medicine.
And, it's popular for a reason. It's really effective for major depression. It helps people quit smoking. Heck, it's even used off-label for things like ADHD and helping with weight management. So when it's used the right way, it's a fantastic, super helpful medication.
But that's the key, isn't it? When it's used correctly. So that brings us to the big question we're digging into today. What happens when it all goes wrong? What happens when someone takes way, way too much? Well, in an overdose, this drug completely transforms. It's not the same thing at all. The source material literally calls its toxicity profile uniquely dangerous. And because it can have these stimulant-like effects when people misuse it, it's even picked up street names like wellies or poor man's cocaine. So we're not just talking about some bad side effects here. This is a whole different, incredibly hazardous ballgame. Okay, so what makes it so uniquely dangerous? Well, you can kind of break it down into a triple threat. It attacks the body in three key ways. It hits the brain, it hits the heart, and it makes it incredibly difficult for doctors to even treat the dang thing. All right, threat number one, neurotoxicity. We're talking about seizures. In fact, seizures are the absolute hallmark of a bupropion overdose. But here's the really terrifying part, the delay. If someone takes the extended release version, a seizure might not pop up for a full 24 hours, a whole day later, long after they might think, "Phew, I'm in the clear." Next up, threat number two, cardiotoxicity. The heart is also under direct assault here. In a really bad overdose, bupropion can totally mess with the heart's electrical wiring. This can cause dangerous rhythms, something called shock, where the heart just can't pump blood effectively, and yeah, in the absolute worst cases, cardiac arrest. And that brings us to threat number three, the clinical challenge. Basically, it's just incredibly hard to treat. Emergency docs have this term for it. They call it the delayed toxin bomb effect. And that's exactly what it is. Those extended release pills just keep leaking poison into the body hour after hour. It makes the whole situation relentless and dangerously unpredictable for the doctors trying to manage it. So you can see how this dangerous progression plays out. A patient might show up at the ER in what's called the latent phase. They have hardly any symptoms, they look totally stable, it's really deceptive. But then, as the drug levels creep up in their system, boom, they can suddenly get hit with seizures. That's the neurotoxic phase. And from there, it can get even worse, progressing to the life-threatening heart complications. Yeah, seeing it laid out like that step by step really drives home the challenge, right? For doctors, this whole thing becomes a frantic race against time. And it's a race that's made so much harder by the drug's weird properties and the fact that there are just no simple fixes. And this right here, this is the absolute core of the problem for doctors. Look, they have tools to fight the symptoms. They can use benzodiazepines to stop seizures. They can provide aggressive supportive care to help the heart and lungs. But what's missing? The big one, a specific antidote. There's nothing that can just reverse the poison. It's like they're fighting the fire, but they can't actually get rid of the fuel that's feeding it. And that's exactly why the 24-hour rule is so, so critical. Because of that delayed toxin bomb we talked about, anyone who might have overdosed on the modified release kind has to be observed for a minimum of 24 hours. Sending them home early just because they look okay, well, that could be a fatal mistake. It's just a really tense, long period of just watching and waiting. So what happens when the standard care just isn't cutting it? When a patient is circling the drain? Well, that's when doctors have to start thinking about some pretty advanced, almost Hail Mary type interventions. But, and this is a big but, these are not magic bullets. Okay, so one of these is something called intravenous lipid emulsion, or ILE. Basically, it's a bag of medical-grade fat. The theory is that this fatty liquid can act like a lipid sink. It just soaks up the drug right out of the bloodstream. Sounds cool, right? But it's super controversial. Expert panels are pretty mad on it. They give it a neutral recommendation, which basically means they can't say for sure if it helps more than it hurts. And this quote from a major toxicology work group really says it all. For most poisonings, there's just not enough good evidence to recommend it. It's a break glass in case of emergency kind of therapy. Use it when everything else has failed and you're just crossing your fingers, because its effectiveness is just not a sure thing. Then, for the absolute sickest of the sick, there's ECMO. Think of it as a full-on heart-lung bypass machine. It literally takes over and does the work for the body. The goal is to just buy time, precious, precious time, for the body to hopefully clear the toxin on its own. It's a massive, invasive, and resource-heavy intervention, which just goes to show you how terrifyingly severe this poisoning can become. Okay, so after running through all that, after seeing how bad this can get, what's the big takeaway here? It really just boils down to one thing: awareness. In this desperate race against the clock, knowledge is absolutely your best weapon. So let's boil it all down to the absolute essentials. Here's what you need to remember. 1. Bupropion is uniquely dangerous in an overdose. 2. The scariest part is the delayed seizures, which can pop up a full day later. That's why the 24-hour observation rule is non-negotiable. And 3, and this is the big one, there is no antidote. Doctors are in a supporting role, helping the body fight it off. And that really leaves us with this final thought. Bupropion is, without a doubt, a powerful medicine. It helps millions of people. But that kind of power demands some powerful respect. Understanding these hidden dangers isn't meant to scare you. It's all about awareness, knowing what's in our medicine cabinets, and remembering that even the most common, helpful pills have a flip side that we have to take seriously.
This is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient or pharmacist-patient relationship is formed. Using this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's risk. The content on this podcast is not intended to substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Clinical experts created the references, content, and clinical insight. NotebookLM, a Google AI tool, created the audio content, which I extensively reviewed before release. Finally, the host states that he takes all conflicts of interest seriously. Currently, there are no conflicts to disclose. For all of his disclosures and the companies he invests in or advises, he directs users to reach out independently, where he keeps an up-to-date and active list of all disclosures.